Channeled message.
They thought your heartbreak would reopen the old cycle. That was the setup. Not simply to wound you, not simply to disappoint. The deeper intention was to push you back into something your soul had already healed from. The plan required pain, confusion, betrayal, delay, and enough pressure to make the healed parts of you question themselves. You were treated like the sacrifice, not the person to protect, not the person to honor, not the person to tell the truth to. The offering, the disruption, the one they could wound, use, misread, and place on the altar of their own appetite, ego, greed, envy, and agenda. That is what made it so dark. Some people were not standing around your life innocently. Some were in on the pressure. Some fed on the confusion. Some helped distort the truth. Some played supportive while quietly helping the wound stay open. Some acted like spectators while serving the outcome, right? Your heart was the target. The role was the target. The path was the target. The timing was the target. They wanted collapse in more than one place. Break the heart, then block the assignment. Disturb the spirit, then delay the role. Cloud the mind, then interfere with the future. Push enough pain into the system, and maybe the old pattern wakes up on command. That was the fantasy. That was the goal. They thought pressure would make you repeat what you already outgrown. They thought pain would send you backward. They thought the old wound still had authority. Yeah? They thought the healed version of you was just a temporary performance, waiting to fall apart under the right conditions. That was the fatal misread. Healing had already changed your reflexes. The same setup that once might have trapped you started exposing itself instead. The same bait that once might have hooked you started looking familiar, feeling familiar, smelling familiar. The same emotional architecture that once could have pulled you into survival mode started reading like evidence. That's why the plan failed, yeah? The trap required unconsciousness. You had already become conscious. The cycle required access. Your discernment had already changed the locks. The repetition required agreement. Your spirit had already withdrawn consent. That is where the backfire began. Everything meant to push you backwards started proving how far you've actually come. Every lie clarified something. Every betrayal revealed a pattern. Every act of interference gave your spirit more reason to stop romanticizing what should have been judged correctly the first time. The wound did not reopen the way they wanted. The pain was real, yeah. The strike was real. The intent was real. Still, the old version of you did not return. That was humiliating for them. It was supposed to be humiliating for you. They were not just trying to hurt you. They were trying to summon an earlier self. They were trying to call back the part of you that would overgive, overexplain, overstay, over-identify with the wound, right? And mistake familiarity for destiny. That version did not answer because that version does not exist anymore. What answered was pattern recognition. What answered was spiritual memory. What answered was healed instinct that knew the difference between a lesson revisiting for mastery and a trap revisiting for repetition. That changes everything. The setup only works when the soul still believes it owes the past another performance. The sabotage only works when the wound still think it has something to prove. The cycle only repeats when the person inside it is still negotiating with a part that should have already been buried. You were not. That is why the whole thing reads differently now. What they call pressure was interference. What they call coincidence was coordination. What they called misunderstanding was often design. What they called a mess had structure to it. Too many moving parts, too much repeated pressure, too much benefit for the same kind of people, too much comfort around your pain. That is not random. They needed your heart disoriented. They needed your faith tired. They needed your self-trust weakened. They needed the road blocked long enough for something counterfeit to sit where something sacred was supposed to stand. That is why your recovery carries so much weight. Recovery did not merely help you feel better, right? Recovery ruined the assignment. Now the people who thought they were managing your collapse have to watch the collapse refuse to complete itself. Oh. Now the ones who helped feed the cycle have to sit with the fact that the cycle did not take. Oh. Now the ones who thought your heartbreak would make you easier to direct, they have to watch you become more exact, more awake, more protected, and less reachable by the same pattern. That is the backfire. The sacrifice kept breathing. The road did not stay blocked. The old cycle did not reclaim the territory. The heart did not die where they placed it. Pressure exposed the players. Pain exposed the architecture. Betrayal exposed the hidden agreements. Your survival exposed the failure of the whole operation. That is why some people get quieter after the fact. The plan looked powerful while they thought it was working. The plan looks evil once it fails. Nothing reveals corruption faster than a failed ambush. Once the smoke clears, the structure becomes visible. The enablers become visible. The handlers become visible. The people who benefited from your confusion becomes visible. The ones who smile while helping create the wound become visible. That is the deeper mercy in all of this. The setup did not only fail, it revealed itself. It revealed the players. It revealed your enemies. You were never supposed to go backward. You were supposed to see clearly, and I hope you do. The old cycle was not stronger than your healing. The old wound was not deeper than your discernment. The old trap was not more powerful than the truth waking up in your body. They treated you like the sacrifice. The altar rejected the offering. Now they have to live with the failure of what they set in motion. Now they have to face the fact that the same pressure meant to break your heart ended up exposing theirs. Now they have to reckon with the reality that the person they targeted did not become smaller, weaker, or easier to control. You became harder to deceive. That was never the outcome they planned for.
End of message.